The movie starts with an aerial view of London's sprawling skyline, gradually zooming in on the rough, crime-ridden area where teenager Tom lives. As he sits at his computer, loud screams and disturbing noises from outside his window fill the air. The next morning on his way to school, Tom is caught off guard by his friend Danny, who sneaks up behind him and hands over a stolen phone, offering it for a bargain. During class, Tom struggles to focus on the lesson, his attention constantly drawn to Lucy, his close friend whom he has feelings for. After class, Danny gives Tom some advice, encouraging him to confess to Lucy just before they spot her walking their way. She passes by, and as they continue walking, Lucy casually asks Tom if he can help her with studying and invites him over later that evening. After pacing around at home for hours, feeling anxious, Tom finally decides to go to Lucy's house. When he arrives, the front door is wide open, making him uneasy as he steps inside cautiously. Passing through the living room, Tom is alarmed to see Lucy's brother unconscious on the floor in front of the television. Startled, he begins to call out for Lucy, but is suddenly confronted by 4 masked men emerging from her room, one of them holding a camera, recording. In shock, Tom tries to escape, but as one of the men draws a gun, he panics and calls the police. The criminals, unwilling to take any chances, shoot him in the head as he attempts to flee. Tom wakes up in the hospital almost 10 days later. As he regains his bearings, he spots his grandmother, Nan, sitting by his side, relieved to see him awake. The doctor later explains that fragments of his phone were embedded in his head and that they'll need to closely monitor him for any potential side effects. Still shaken by what happened, Tom lets Nan take him home, but not before ensuring that Lucy is safe and has also returned home. During the taxi ride back, Tom experiences something strange. He hears what feels like radio frequencies in his head, but he dismisses it, thinking it's just a passing sensation. A few days after settling back in, Nan gently urges Tom to visit Lucy, suggesting that she would appreciate seeing him. Taking Nan's advice to heart, Tom decides to visit Lucy's apartment, though he's still experiencing strange interference with electronic devices. When he arrives, Lucy's mother greets him and lets him into her room. Lucy is sitting on her bed, and when she sees Tom, she smiles warmly, easing the tension between them. She jokes about being glad he wasn't dead, which helps break the awkward silence. Tom, still feeling guilty, apologizes for not being able to protect her that night, but Lucy reassures him, saying she never blamed him for what happened. On his way back home, Tom starts hearing snippets of phone conversations from people in the neighborhood. The sudden rush of voices in his head overwhelms him, making him feel dizzy and confused. Panicking, he hurries home, only to be struck by a bizarre sight. He can now clearly see the TV frequency being transmitted to their screen. Nan, noticing his strange behavior and dazed expression, becomes worried and reaches for the phone to call a doctor. But Tom quickly stops her, insisting that he just needs to rest. In his room, the strange effects intensify. He begins to perceive the codes, signals, and data flowing through every electronic device around him. It's as though he can see the inner workings of everything digital. When he gazes out at the city from his window, the overwhelming flood of information becomes too much, and he collapses, passing out on the floor. The next morning, as Tom regains consciousness, a memory from his visit to Lucy's apartment flashes in his mind, an important detail he had missed. Something about that visit doesn't sit right with him now. Tom remembered noticing a projected notification from Lucy's router, showing an iPhone connected under the name Eugene, a classmate of theirs. The detail bothered him, but he kept it to himself. On Monday, despite Nan's protests, Tom dressed for school. Before heading there, he stopped by Danny's house, and the two friends embraced, with Danny relieved to see him alive. As they walked together, Danny mentioned he hadn't heard much about what happened that night and advised Tom to let it go, move on, and forget. In class, Tom couldn't focus on anything but his growing anger. Using his newfound abilities, he accessed Eugene's phone and discovered a horrific video, proof of Lucy's assault. Fury took over. Concentrating on Eugene's phone, Tom caused it to overheat, frying it in Eugene's hands, leaving the boy shocked and confused. That night, Tom attended a party Danny had invited him to, but his mind wasn't on having fun. Instead, he carefully scanned the crowd, mentally matching faces to the attackers he remembered from the video, identifying details that set them apart. Meanwhile, Lucy had withdrawn from everyone, isolating herself in her room, unable to face the world. Intoxicated by alcohol in his own rage, Tom spotted Eugene and was ready to confront him. Just as he moved in, Danny stopped him, dragging him outside. Danny scolded Tom, reminding him he'd just survived a gunshot wound and urging him not to do something reckless. Tom, still heated, revealed that he knew Danny was involved in dealing drugs. Danny didn't deny it. Instead, he admitted it, explaining that he was trying to climb the ranks. He insisted that one day, when he was at the top, he'd stop all the criminal activities happening around them. After leaving the party, Tom went to Lucy's house. house, hoping to lift her spirits. They stood on her balcony, talking quietly when Tom noticed Lucy tense up. Down below, Eugene and his friends were walking by. The fear and tension in Lucy's face made something snap in Tom. He knew then that he couldn't let it slide. He made a decision. He was going to get revenge for Lucy, the girl he loved. In the days that followed, Tom began using his abilities to track Eugene and his group by tapping into their phones, monitoring their movements, and keeping tabs on their activities. He started interfering with their electronic devices, causing glitches and disruptions, and realized just how powerful his new skills had made him. The next day, during a school assembly, Tom decided to escalate his revenge. He hacked into the school's projector system and played a recording he had taken of Cass, one of Eugene's friends, in a compromising position. The entire auditorium watched in shock, humiliating Cass in front of the whole school. Feeling satisfied with what he had done, Tom went to see Lucy afterward and told her about what happened. Intrigued, Lucy texted the mysterious number that had been messaging her recently, unaware that it was actually Tom responding telepathically. She asked if the person behind the text was the one messing with Eugene and his gang. Tom, using his mind to communicate, responded without hesitation. As Lucy continued asking questions, he kept answering, making sure she had no reason to suspect it was him. Lucy then asked why the gang had targeted her. Tom learned from her that the attack had been meant as punishment for her older brother, who had refused to get involved with the gang. They had lashed out at Lucy to send a message. Sitting beside her, Tom silently responded to her questions, maintaining the illusion that he was just another anonymous helper. When Lucy asked for the name of her secret ally, Tom told her to call him iBoy. Wanting to lift her spirits, Tom suggested they go out to eat, knowing she hadn't left the house since the attack. He promised her that he would never leave her side again and vowed to protect her from now on. On their way back to Lucy's house, Tom and Lucy are stopped by Eugene and his friends. They accuse them of being the ones messing with them. Tom quickly handles the situation by sending the gang a fake text that clears them of suspicion. The next night, Tom follows the gang and watches as they try to steal a car. Using his powers, he locks them inside the car and causes the engine to overheat, filling it with smoke. Through the radio, Tom demands they tell him who ordered the attack on Lucy. Panicked, Cass blurts out their boss's name. After finding out who was behind it all, Tom goes to the boss's house and hacks into their TV, playing a video of him urinating in Kutz's car. Furious at the insult, Kutz and his crew rush outside. While they're distracted, Tom sneaks into the house and uses his powers to destroy every electronic device inside. He also finds kilograms of drugs hidden in a fake speaker and takes them, causing Kutz and his gang to panic. One evening, while Tom and Lucy are watching a movie at her house, Lucy talks about the vigilante who's been fighting the gang. Tom, thinking she'd be impressed, is surprised when she calls the vigilante's actions stupid, saying that if he really wanted to make a difference, he'd have to do much more to clean up the place. Taking her words to heart, Tom starts planning how to take down every gang member on the streets. Tom decides to use the stolen cocaine from Kutz to frame Eugene and his friends. He sneaks into their houses, plants the drugs in their rooms, and then tips off the police anonymously. When the police arrive, they find the drugs and arrest the young men, sending them to prison. This causes problems for Kutz, as the money from the stolen drugs begins disappearing, and his boss, Elman, threatens his life if he can't fix the situation. The next night, in desperation, Kutz calls a meeting with his crew and orders them to break into every house in the neighborhood to confiscate any electronic devices they can find, believing they are being hacked. As the gang members carry out their orders, Kutz becomes suspicious of Cass, the only one who hasn't been arrested. As the neighborhood erupts in anger and confusion, blaming iBoy for the trouble, Tom decides to lay low for a few days to make the gang think he's disappeared. One morning, while listening in on their conversations, he overhears Kutz talking about an important delivery happening that night. Ready to take action, Tom tries to leave for his mission, but his grandmother stops him, demanding to know where he has been sneaking off to all the time. When Tom refuses to explain himself and walks out of the house, Nan becomes worried. She goes to see Danny and tells him that Tom has been acting strangely lately, begging him to keep an eye on his friend and make sure he's okay. Meanwhile, Tom tracks the boss's phone to a container yard where a drug exchange is supposed to happen. He sneaks in, takes down the guard who's keeping watch, and sets fire to the kilos of cocaine stored in a crate, destroying the gang's entire supply. But as soon as the fire starts, gang members who had been hiding in the shadows rush out and attack Tom. They beat him badly, and just when things seem hopeless, Tom uses his powers to send sharp static into their heads, making them drop to the ground in pain. Seizing the opportunity, Tom escapes, even though Kutz tries to shoot at him. But Kutz's aim is off, and Tom gets away. Exhausted and wounded, Tom collapses in the street and ends up spending the night there. The next day, Tom and Lucy get into a heated argument because he missed their plan to go to the exam together. He tries to chase after her to apologize, but as they're walking, they see a crowd gathered, all looking at something shocking. Cass hanging from his house, clearly used as a warning to others. Horrified by what he's witnessed, Tom retreats to a secluded rooftop to think about everything that's happened. He starts to question his actions and whether he's made things worse. A little while later, Danny shows up, asking where Tom has been and pointing out that he hasn't been showing up for any of the exams. Danny's concerned, and it's clear he's starting to worry about his friend's sudden disappearance from his usual life. As a concerned friend, Danny gives Tom some heartfelt advice, urging him not to waste his life before walking away. Later that night, Tom is startled by noises coming from the living room. When he goes to check, he is shocked to find Elman, Cutts, and their henchmen sitting there. Elman reveals that he knows Tom has special abilities and threatens to harm Lucy if Tom doesn't steal money for him. To Tom's horror, Elman also reveals that Danny was the one who betrayed him. Using the phone the gang used to record Lucy, Tom manages to secretly call the police and leads them to where Lucy is being held captive. Under Elman's orders, Tom starts transferring money into Elman's account. However, Elman grows suspicious when Eugene doesn't answer his phone and decides to head to the warehouse where Lucy is being kept. When they arrive, Tom uses his powers to cause the phones in the pockets of Lucy's kidnappers and Elman's phone to explode. Elman narrowly escapes by throwing his phone away and running outside. Tom chases after him, but before he can act, he's struck on the head. A brief struggle ensues, and in a final burst of strength, Tom unleashes all of his power, flinging Elman across the ground. Exhausted, Tom collapses and passes out. Tom wakes up in the hospital, where his grandmother is by his side, relieved that he is safe. After recovering, Tom returns home, both he and Nan grateful that he survived the ordeal. A few days later, Danny approaches Tom, offering him all the money he had received from Elman in exchange for betraying him. Tom refuses to take the money, walking away and leaving Danny to deal with the weight of his guilt. In the final scene, Tom takes Lucy on a rooftop date. He prepares a picnic, and together they watch the city skyline. As they stand together, Lucy kisses Tom and holds him close, thankful for everything he's done for her. With that, the movie concludes. We hope you enjoyed our video. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing movies, and we'll see you in the next one.